Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Military Mondays. For those who don't know who I am retired Major Brenda Sanchez, and my husband and I now are the co-founders of Life's Real Currency, and we're your client retention specialist. And every single Monday morning at 8 a.m., I bring to you, hopefully, sometimes it's just me sharing military experiences, but I love to interview veterans, spouses of veterans, or businesses that support the veteran community. And I have the honor today of interviewing Jessica Sato. And Jessica and I met probably 2 years ago, year and a half ago,
Maybe a year. I
a
think it's
year
only been
ago.
a year.
And we met through networking through polka dots. If you're not familiar with polka dots, reach out to one of us. If you are a female and are out, whether you're in corporate or you're in entrepreneurship, it doesn't matter. You can even be a stay-at-home mom and join us. So if you're interested in learning about that, please let us know. But Jess and I have been talking a lot lately, and she used to be a government contractor. So she really gets the military way of life, and she's done a lot of, for those of you who are military, you know what TDY is, temporary duty assignments. She traveled a lot with the military with assignments, and she now helps veterans and corporate people transition from government or corporate work over to being an entrepreneur and helping you to make that transition smoother and understand all it is that you have and the capabilities you bring to being an entrepreneur. So with that, her and her partner Christy are the co-founders of Two Smart Girls, and they definitely are two smart girls and a lot of fun to hang around. And so I wanted to bring Jess here today to share with you just her experience with the military and how she's helping veterans today. So thanks so much for joining me today, Jess. Look forward to sharing your knowledge with my audience.
I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So give me a little bit of your background so that everybody knows why you're qualified to help veterans and corporate people transition.
Well, I began my career right out of college with the Boeing company. And actually, I was thinking back to my start date, which was September 10th, 2001.
Oh, wow.
And so I started in one world and I really built my career in the world that we're in now. And the first 5 years of my time at Boeing, I worked exclusively with different branches of the military as they were trying to identify future capabilities required for the warfighter. And so we did everything from being on base, working through these intensive workshops, to drafting scenarios, all kinds of really fun assignments. But it all came back to how do we help people be successful in the environment that they're in. And then the back half of my time at Boeing was really spent at their leadership center. So a lot of people may be familiar with the facility itself in St. Louis, but it's all rooted in helping people grow and develop their leadership capabilities, whether you're in the corporate world or in the military or wherever you happen to be. So my experience in that first 10 years of my career was really rooted in helping people learn how to make critical decisions about what they are hoping to accomplish and then building a plan to get there.
Cool. And you and I have talked about the unique skill set that military, especially military, bring to entrepreneurship. Can you talk to that so that those that are watching that maybe are getting ready to transition, or maybe they have and they went to government contract work and they're not real happy what they're doing and they would love to do something on their own? Give them the encouragement, share with them what you've shared with me and why they are so perfectly suited for entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So, I think a lot of times people think, you step into entrepreneurship and it's just like this exciting journey, and you and I have talked many times about how it's this roller coaster of ups and downs. But one of the things that is critical to the success of entrepreneurs is developing disciplined processes. So sticking with the same thing in and out every single day in order to really build those firm foundations and ultimately to allow you to be successful. And when I was thinking a lot about the transitional pieces and what you take from one experience to the next, and I just kept coming back to this aspect of discipline. And, for some people, the word discipline is kind of like this dirty word, but I really look at it as a practice. And when I think about our veterans who have years of experience doing some of the same things over and over, really building patterns for success, those are the kinds of skills that you're going to bring forward and that you can really leverage in order to build a business, to stick with it even when it feels really crazy and chaotic, when life isn't going that great, right? You have the stability in order to be able to weather the storm. And that to me is probably one of the most powerful skills that our veterans are bringing to the table when it comes to stepping into entrepreneurship.
Well, and you talk about weathering the storm, and don't we weather this? Those of us who are veterans, we weathered the storm. I mean, come on, move in every few years, and during wartime, and we've pretty much been in somewhat of a wartime state for a long time now, and having to roll with the punches. We've talked about how that just in corporate America, those that are coming from corporate America, not government side of it, don't necessarily have those experiences like the military do. Some
Yeah.
do. There are some
Mhm.
that are in corporate that transition a lot and move a lot
Sure.
with their job, but for the most part, it's a little more stable and you stay put
Mhm.
and don't have to juggle a million things and try to juggle your family and moving and a job and
Well, and even just being deployed, right? I mean, part of your family a lot of times is away from you. So, that's one of the things, when you go into corporate, you're actually, for most people, are looking for stability. And, certainly when you're in the military, that same stability in the way that you and I are talking about is not a thing. And so I mean, that kind of ability to roll with the punches is really foundational because entrepreneurship truly is a roller coaster. Like some days you're up, some days you're down, some days, you're tracking up, it's it's a very interesting space. And, in some cases, wanting that stability is what keeps us in one place probably too long. But I really love working with veterans and watching them step into new spaces because, like I said, they're really uniquely suited because of their ability to go with the flow.
would you say something that you just said kind of resonated with me? And would you say that for the most part, again, I don't want to stereotype, but corporate America or non military, non government, we tend, and even the military, I would say, gets in a comfort zone. The military knows not to stay there,
Mhm.
but I'm talking to the other veterans that are out there right now. I know when I transitioned, everybody said to me, "Oh, you'll end up in building 1 or you'll end up in building 2 at Peterson Air Force Base." And so many people fell back into that routine, that comfort zone where they were comfortable there, they knew what they were doing there, and they're afraid to step outside that comfort zone and do what they're truly passionate about. Um, so how so you work with corporate and veterans that are transitioning. What would you say to somebody who's thinking about that and is scared to death, but excited and has a passion to do something? What advice would you give them?
Oh, this is one of my favorite topics. So, it's interesting because when you look at the way we're built as humans, right, we always default to what's easy, right? The brain is wired to step into efficiency, to not do hard things. And so, what's interesting is when you really want to do something, those natural fear responses are the first thing that come up, and they're always what shift us back into what I refer to as default mode. And so for me, that's really, to step out of that is like overriding your neural pathways, right? So you have to really have a vision for what you want to create. You need an action plan and real goals. I mean, you and I both know that you can have all the ideas in the world, but until you actually have some goals and an actual action plan that's going to move you forward, you're never going to make the leap. And one of the things that we like to do with our clients is really help them build that plan so that they know exactly what they're doing. What does it take to actually make that leap? And then surrounding yourself with people who can help you be successful. And that doesn't necessarily mean people that you're paying to help you do that. I'm talking about a community of support, people who get the journey that you're trying to make and who can actually help you transition and be successful. And then the other thing I was thinking about the other day was really rooted in being present, right? It's very easy to get caught up in the swirl and all the drama that goes with making a big change, whether it's a career change, whether that's moving, whether that's, making, the leap into entrepreneurship. It's very easy to get caught up in that craziness. But when you are fully present and you're rooted in the goals and the vision of what you're trying to create, then it becomes much easier to make that leap. And the one thing I will say is if you ask anyone who has made the leap, they will tell you they wish they had done it sooner. So I always encourage people, step into that space of discomfort because that's going to be your new life. And, I think for a lot of our military families, like they're living in discomfort pretty much all the time. So in some cases, like I said, they're more uniquely suited because they know how to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, you almost have to. It's a skill, whether you have it or not when you enter the military, it's a skill that you develop
Right.
over time or are, um, what do you call it? Learn by fire or what?
Right. Trial by fire.
Yeah, trial by fire. That's what I meant to say. So the other thing you just were talking about kind of mindset and that, and you and Christy, I just took your class
Yeah.
recently, the mini mental makeover, is that what it's
Mm-hmm.
called? And that was amazing and all about tuning into what you are telling yourself, um, positively or negatively, and tapping into how you're feeling every day as you are making that leap
Mm-hmm.
and getting outside the comfort zone. So you can definitely check into that with Jess and Christy. It's a great course. Um, what would you say to somebody thinking about getting out of the service right now and not sure whether they want a corporate job, or and maybe they're 3 to 5 years out? What would be your advice? Would you suggest that they start making plans now if they're thinking about being an entrepreneur and kind of do it at the same time, or what would be your strategy for that transition?
That is such a great question. I really encourage people to build a foundation before they make the leap, right? There's nothing more stressful than trying to start a business when you need income and you're trying to figure it all out, right? I mean, just like with anything, building a business is a lot of trial and error. Like you can have the best foundations, but it still takes work to figure out what's going to work. How are you going to talk to the person that you're trying to target, all of those things. So I really recommend building the foundation before you make the leap, and even getting to the place where it's maybe even profitable, if not more so, that when you step out, it's like relatively stress-free. And I say relatively, right? Because entrepreneurship is not stress-free. But I really think, doing the hard work up front of trying to figure out what is the path you actually want to take, and really doing some deep soul searching, right? Entrepreneurship really is not for the faint of heart, and in truth, it's not for everyone. And I think if you do the hard work of really working to understand who you are, what makes you thrive, how do you want to grow and be challenged, and figuring out, okay, I really like the idea of being my own boss, of building something, of having this vision and bringing it to life, to having the drive and the passion to actually do it, to like really dig into problem solving, all of those things. When you do that hard work and you figure out, yeah, this is the path for me, then you can really begin to lay the foundation so that when it comes time to say, okay, I'm turning in my badge, so to speak, and starting this thing on my own, you already have all the tools, the confidence, the skills to make that happen.
Awesome. I want you to share one other story because it hasn't come up yet.
Okay.
That's the story of when you and Christy really took charge of your business, and it was in an instant a mindset shift for you. Can you share that? Because I
Sure.
think that might help some of our viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. So Christy and I have owned our own respective businesses for years, and we were on an assignment to Ethiopia on behalf of a government contractor for a US grant, working with a major Ethiopian company. And we had been doing the work, and as we were about to get on the plane, basically less than 24 hours before we were supposed to leave, we got a call and they said, we need to cancel this trip. And as contractors, you need the income, right? Like everything is planned out. You have your whole business calendar plotted. And we were literally just staring at 2.5 weeks of blank space. And we went round and round about, do we bill for this time? Do we hold them accountable? Do we exercise the clause in our contract that says we're supposed to be paid in full? And, we were talking about a lot of money. And at the same time, there were all these considerations. Like we had a long-term relationship with the company. We were working on a grant, right? It was just so much mental drama. And we got on the phone with our point of contact and we were talking, and I could just tell that he was not hearing what he needed to hear. And finally, it was just like this moment where I said, this is not personal. This is business. And I'll never forget, because this man, he actually used to be my old internal boss. And he said, so you're telling me that you think you should get paid for work that you did not do? And it was one of those out of body moments where you're like, oh my gosh, if I say yes, that's going to lead me down a path. If I say no, it's going to lead me down another path. And that's not a path I want to be on. And I finally just said, yes, I do think you should pay us because that's what's in our contract. And he said, okay, I just needed to hear you ask for it. And that was, I really refer to it as like a lightning bolt kind of moment, because it was the first time that for me and for Christy as well, where we really had to ask for it. We had to own the fact that we were business owners. And I think so often we kind of dance around the discomfort, right? There's so much about entrepreneurship that's uncomfortable. And we were dancing around this, dancing around our worth, dancing around our value, dancing around all these things. And it was just so clear in the moment that we had to say yes. And for us, like I said, it was the first time we had really had to ask for it. And that was a complete trajectory change, where at that point we said, how many other people are out there trying to run businesses, trying to make, a successful career for themselves, but they're never asking for it, never holding themselves to a high enough standard where others do the same. And that really is the heart of how Two Smart Girls got started. We wanted to make sure that we were helping people be successful, and fully believe that they are the boss of their career, of their life, of a business that they choose to develop. So, yeah, it was a fun moment.
So the moral of the story is be
Ask.
confident and ask,
Yeah,
because you never know what you'll receive.
that's right.
If you don't ask, you can't receive.
That's right.
And we've been talking about the roller coaster of business, and really in the military, it's a roller coaster life. Anybody who says it's not probably didn't have a typical military career. And you and I have been kind of toying with some things with the
Yeah.
roller coaster of life and business. So stay tuned. Um, because there might be something coming in the near future that Jess and I have been working on, that may interest you. So, with that, thank you so much for being on the show today, Jess. Any final thoughts that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I would just say if you are thinking about entrepreneurship, if you're thinking about making that leap, I would just encourage you to start talking to other entrepreneurs, really get good perspective about what it takes, and get advice on, or wise counsel, I'll just say it that way, as opposed to advice, get some wise counsel on your plan. And don't be afraid to ask for help. That's hands down, you cannot be an entrepreneur without asking for help. And there are so many people in this community that have that kind of insight and expertise. And there are many, many people who'd be willing to help you.
Yeah, I mean, there's Lisa, who was on the show just 2 weeks ago, I think it was. There's the SBDC, there's the SBA, there are so many organizations that are out there. And if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, reach out to those organizations and explore it today. Don't wait till the day that you retire and then you're like, now what do I do?
Yep.
And don't be like so many people that I worked with. And Jess probably heard this too, where they were retiring out of the military and they said, you won't find me back in this building. I'm not going to do this. I have bigger plans. I want to do something else. And then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months later, they give in, they cave in, and they go back to what they're comfortable with because they didn't have a plan in place ahead of time. And so make those plans now. And if you need help with that, Jess can help, I can help, and many of my resources can help you. So reach out to me and I'd be glad to connect you. And with that, I would love to stay connected to all of you. And if you would go to militarymondays.info, I can stay connected to you and share past shows and upcoming shows. And I just want to get to know you better. If you have a business that supports the military, or if you are a veteran yourself that has a business, I'd love to have a conversation with you and see if you might be a good fit to bring on my Military Mondays. And with that, I will see you next Monday on Military Mondays. Bye, everyone.